Hey guys, how's it going? It's Dan here from Future Perfect Gaming, and today we're going to take you down a little trip down memory lane with some forgotten and hidden PS1 games. Yep, okay, that's the intro.
What have I got? You win.
Now, some of these games I remember fondly from my younger years, and some I've only just discovered recently. The PlayStation 1 was, in my opinion, one of the last major experimental eras for gaming, and as a result there was a very wide range of game styles with some interesting concepts. Some of the game concepts you would only see in certain areas of the internet nowadays, let alone on a shelf. But we'll get to some of those really weird ones in the future. So before we get started, just a really quick message. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps keep the channel going. And if there are any games not on this little list that you think should be, leave a comment below. I read all the comments and I reply to all the comments. And you never know, I might just feature one in the next video. So, educate me. First up, we have Sony's answer to games such as Star Fox and Panzer Dragoon. Vanark is a fairly typical on-the-rails shooter released in October 1999 by Japanese developers BitTown Inc. and published by Asmik, under the name Astro Trooper Vanark. Later in the year 2000 it was published to the North American market by Jaleco under the name Vanark, even though the title screen still says Astro Trooper Vanark. Maybe they thought the longer title was too much for the American market, who knows? I will start by saying this is a fantastic shooter, and one for any fan of on-the-rails shooter games such as, like I've said, Star Fox and Panzer Dragoon, or maybe even Space Harrier. The gameplay is very tight. You can move in all directions on the screen, slow down and speed up. There are two weapon slots with a typical gun, i.e. a laser, and a secondary which can normally be some sort of missile, which you can select before a mission. The game controls and feels amazingly responsive and smooth, and you will get used to the mechanics in no time. Although there are no barrel rolls in this one. Sorry, Peppy. The gameplay is very fast paced, and there's always lots happening on the screen, so you need to keep your wits about you. The boss fights are crazy, and you will be having to memorise the patterns to take them down. The various level designs are very traditional and uninspiring with your typical space, lava, desert themes, but they all look great. The game has some good replayability with different paths you can take in each level, so you would need to replay several times if you wanted to see the whole game. Now, don't get me wrong, the game is challenging but not impossible. There are no health pickups, but there are various difficulty levels to choose from, and 5 continues. It would have been nice to see some health pickups, maybe on its own easier difficulty setting, but this is hindsight on a 20-year-old game. Graphically, the game is lovely for a PS1 game. The PS1 had already been out for about 5 years when this game was released, so the developers clearly knew how to squeeze as much as possible out of the system to get the best results. We all know the PS1 is notorious for looking a bit jagged with its textures, but the developers did a great job with only small amounts of noticeable jaggedness, not to mention it runs as smooth as butter. The game's lighting effects really add another level to the beauty, especially on the second level when the level transitions to underwater with the sun shining downwards. The audio is fast paced and upbeat, perfect for the intense gunfighting. Although the music isn't very memorable as such, it does a great job at setting the tone for the levels. All of the sound effects such as weapons and explosions are loud and bold. Now, there is something else to this game. After a mission you are taken back to base and you control the pilot on a pre-rendered background, much like Resident Evil, which is very bizarre for a shooter game. This is the way you get briefings, see story elements, upgrade your ship and choose the next mission. It's a bizarre choice for a game like this, and it totally stops the pacing dead in its tracks, but it does add some level of anticipation for the next mission. So the varying pace isn't a bad thing in my opinion, but it might not be to everyone's taste. The only gripe about this is whilst in the pre-rendered backgrounds look great, the characters look kind of bad in comparison to the rest of the game, and the English can be quite broken, but that can also be quite entertaining sometimes. Although I think the section was added to help pad out the length of the game in the last minute, but that's just my opinion. The game itself is quite short and only takes about an hour from start to finish. There is some replayability of weapons upgrades and taking different paths through the levels, but with only 6 stages, you'll find yourself finishing this game quite quickly. To summarise, Vanark is a great example of a shooter game with lovely visuals and controls. The only letdowns are the parts between the levels on the mothership and the length of the game. This is one of those games you would bring down from the shelf to have a quick blast every now and then, but with today's busy lifestyle, having a high quality shooter game you can complete in an hour is kind of nice. Now, this game is slightly different. Rakugagi Showtime is a Japan-only game developed by Treasure and published by none other than Enix in 1999. This is genuinely one of the most unique games I've ever played, and it's a real shame it didn't make its way over to the Western market. This game is what you would get if you were to put Power Stone, Smash Brothers and Paper Mario into a blender to make a smoothie. That smoothie would be Rakugagi Showtime, a fantastic 2.5D fighting game set with 3D environments but featuring 2D characters that look like crayon drawings. This game could be considered a bit light in depth, but from developers Treasure, this game is a real hidden gem of the PlayStation library with some wacky ideas and zany characters. There isn't really much you can say about the graphics. You see what you get. I can't really see this style appealing to the masses, but if you can get past the 2.5D premise, you will find a game that's easy to pick up but difficult to master. The gameplay of this game is what really sets it apart from the rest. It's a real frantic battle royale where your main method of attack is throwing things at the other fighters. Yes, you can also punch, jump and throw the other fighters so you can get to a weapon before them. The main throwable weapon is a little ball which changes colours and after a while starts flashing. Like the smash attack in Smash Brothers, if you catch the ball when it's flashing, it will unleash a special attack. Not to mention there are other items you can throw such as boulders, black holes, rockets. It can sometimes be difficult to tell what on earth's going on with so much that's happening on the screen. The audio design is great, it sounds very arcadey, but the music is upbeat and perfectly matches the gameplay at hand. With all the other sounds from the explosions, screams, the attacks happening on screen, it's a real attack on the senses, and it's very typical of the Japanese market. If you're a fan of any crazy brawl style fighting game, then this is one I'd recommend checking out. You'll be having great fun in a few minutes. It's very easy to learn but difficult to master with its craziness. Get 4 people together and have a great time with this game. You will lose hours playing this crazy fighting game. Next up we have Gundam Battle Assault. Big robots beating the crap out of each other. Review done. Next. I'm only joking. I've only recently heard about Gundam Battle Assault, developed and published by Bandai in 1997. A sprite-based tournament fighter starring the mechs from the hit TV show Gundam. It's obviously a cash grab on the franchise, but there was little like this at the time to capture the fighting mechanics of 2 massive mechs duking it out so well. Graphics wise, I think it looks great. I'm glad they were sprite based with this game, as it's more true to the source material than polygon based models that would probably look quite janky in contrast with the limitations of the system, so I think they've made the right move. All of the mechs look great and they all have their own specific style, as do the backdrops for the fights. The game can be quite technical to understand and will probably take some time to figure out with the ammo gauge and thruster meters to worry about. Special attacks can be activated with button combos, much like other fighting games, which you can actually link together if you're nimble enough. As the fights wage on, parts of your mechs can fall off, showing their inner workings, which is a nice level of details for a game like this at the time, and another reason why I think fans of the show will enjoy this game. The audio design is sparkling with 90s anime fare throughout, and the noises of the projectiles, explosions, the mechs, the clanging against each other really stand out. It's very much what you would expect for a game like this. If you have any interest in anime, this could be a great hidden gem to sink your teeth into. This one probably won't appeal to everyone, but that's all part of the fun. Next up we have one of my favourite ever racing games. Years after Wipeout set the bar for futuristic races on the PlayStation, we have Rollcage, an arcade style racing game with a difference where anything can be your track. Developed in 1999 by Attention to Detail and published by Psygnosis, with the follow-up game Rollcage 2 a year later in the year 2000. If you're a child of the 90s, you will probably be aware of the Tyco Rebound remote control car that you could drive upside down and generally go mental when you try and ride up walls. Then this is the game for you. In this arcade racer, you are the pilot of a vehicle that can ride anywhere. Enough speed can see you wall riding the ceilings and doing crazy flips while picking up power-ups to destroy the other racers. This game is a fast, adrenaline-fueled racer that will get your blood pumping with its amazing soundtrack and 20 futuristic courses to race on. You can also destroy the scenery on the track by ramming into it to add another level of gameplay. Now, don't get me wrong, this game can be quite ruthless and at times very frustrating due to the disorienting nature of the game. Getting hit at speed could see you suddenly driving in the wrong direction. But even with that in mind, it's still a massive amount of fun to play. For a first of its type, the game looks amazing. The tracks look detailed, but considering how crazy and fast paced the game is, you will probably not have too much time to admire them. It's not as sleek and polished as Wipeout, for example, but all of the lightning and destruction effects are on point. What this game lacks in sleekness, it makes up for in pure attitude. Now, this is where the game really shines, with tracks from Fatboy Slim. Now, the audio is where the game really shines, with tracks from Fatboy Slim, Easy Rollers and Aphrodite, to name a few. Really set the tone for the action at hand. It's up there with the other adrenaline-fueled soundtrack from its main competitor, Wipeout. In fact, I would recommend listening to the soundtrack anyway. It's absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of content to explore in Rollcage, and the sheer vastness of the amount of tracks and competition modes will keep you busy for some time. The gameplay is addictive, the soundtrack is fantastic, and all in all, it's a great package for an adrenaline-fueled racer who want the edge over a traditional racing game. It's also worth adding that there is now a recent spiritual successor to Rollcage called Grip that I recommend checking out, but I would highly recommend seeking out the original Rollcage for the pure nostalgia. Okay, so that's it. That's enough hidden gems for the PlayStation 1 for this video. There are loads more to look at. In fact, I have got an ever-growing list from my research for amazing hidden PS1 gems that I can't wait to get to. Some of them I've not even played before, so I need to play them before I can write about them. So if you want to see this video again or more videos like this, please make sure you like, subscribe and ring the notification bell to be the first in line for the next video. But for now, this is me, Dan from Future Perfect Gaming, signing off, and I'll speak to you again real soon. Bye bye.